Welcome to the Filmcast. This is our review of Babylon. I'm going to read the plot summary of this movie from IMDb. Babylon is a tale of outsized, ambitious, and outrageous excess, tracing the rise and fall of multiple characters during an era of unbridled decadence and depravity in early Hollywood. End quote. Babylon follows multiple characters through the course of a very tumultuous time period in Hollywood, and I'm going to name the major ones. Jack Conrad, played by Brad Pitt, Nellie Leroy, played by Margot Robbie, Manny Torres, played by Diego Calva, Sidney Palmer, played by Jovan Adepo, and also Anna May Wong, played by Lee Jun Lee. So these are kind of the stories
She's
that
not
make up.
Anime Wong. She is playing a character inspired by anime. Lady Fei Zhu is the character's name.
Gotcha. Google is giving me the wrong information. Sorry about that. But
I
yes,
assume they can't just do like straight up. They are this person for legal
yes,
reasons. So
yes,
yeah.
yeah. Thank you for that clarification. So
Mhm.
anyway, those are the people who Babylon follows. Damien Chazelle. This is a really interesting movie. This feels like a blank check movie. Damien Chazelle,
His second
um,
blank check movie, to be honest. Like
second blank check movie. I mean,
nobody was really asking for First Man except for Damien Chazelle,
he
and I love First
made
Man.
he made La La Land. He won Best Director. Then he made
Mhm.
First Man, which was a movie that like at first I didn't end up loving that much. And, like I didn't love on first watch, but then like the
That
more I
movie
thought back
sits
to
with
it,
you.
yeah, the
Yeah.
more I thought back to it, I was like, he actually did some pretty cool stuff in that movie.
Mhm.
But it didn't do particularly well at the box office, nor did it get too much awards love.
Not enough
Uh,
jazz. Not enough
yeah,
jazz in First Man. Yeah.
and now he's coming back with Babylon. Movie cost over $80 million to make. It's going to make a tiny fraction of that. I think Paramount's going to be okay because they had the biggest movie at the box office this year with Top Gun Maverick and many other successes. I am a little more worried about Damien Chazelle though. I hope he gets what he needs to make
After
another.
seeing this movie, you're like, "Are you okay? What's
Well, there's like like how is he feeling
How's he
psychologically,
feeling?"
but also like does he?
I
I
was
hope.
thinking of that Simpsons scene where it was just a side character. It's like, let her keep speaking. I'm trying to get fired. And this feels like Damien Chazelle helping, like, I'm just going to make this movie and they fire me. They kick me out of this town. So be it.
Yeah,
Damien Chazelle.
in
It does
many
seem like a
ways,
Herculean effort to
Yeah.
make this
in
movie.
many
Yeah.
ways, it does feel like that. Yeah. But so I think Paramount's going to be okay. Less sure about Damien Chazelle's career. I just remember like it taking so much work and effort for him to get the funding to make La La Land, which
For
obviously
sure.
ended up becoming a huge
After
success.
Whiplash, like I was fully on board with
Oh
Damien
yeah,
Chazelle after Whiplash, and also like, I mean, he did the script for Grand Piano, which is that movie. I feel like,
yeah.
did you guys ever end up seeing that? But
I
the
saw it.
story
Yeah,
behind
yeah.
him, there were like tales from people I know who went to NYU was like, that dude has like 50 scripts. He just has like, he has been writing, he has been like laser focused on making movies. So I was like, and I saw Whiplash and was like, yeah, this is one of the best movies I've ever seen. So yes,
Totally,
Damien
totally.
Chazelle, keep going. Yeah.
I think he is an undeniable talent. But I am really curious, Devindra Hardawar. Let's start with you. What did you think of Babylon?
Hmm. You know what, folks? Heartbreak does feel good in a film like this. I really enjoyed Babylon. I think it's a wild and unexpected ride into the end of the silent era, and pure Hollywood excess too. And I found it ultimately moving and a great tribute to cinema's power, despite the costs, right? Despite the cost of cinema and the cost of like creating a movie. This movie is way too long. I feel like it's unbalanced in what it's trying to do because towards the end it tries to hit an emotional mark that it didn't fully set up. But I think like most of Chazelle's films, it's a movie about the cost of art, right? And the cost of art on your soul and on your person. How much are you willing to give up to pursue this thing that you love so much? And I think it's a great exploration of that. I love Margot Robbie in this movie. You know, sometimes we talk about there not being movie stars anymore, right? It feels like that age is disappearing. And then Margot Robbie appears and it's just like freaking just like doing fireworks. Like she is just like so on the ball on this movie. Even though her character does feel a bit like what if Harley Quinn just really wanted to be an actress at some point? It's a bit like that, but I think she's great. Like she's a bona fide star here, and like at times she's powering the entire film. I found that really fantastic, and I really love Diego Calva as well. Like I've not seen him before. I know he's pretty much a newcomer. He's been in some TV stuff, but I think he was a great blank slate. And I really appreciate like the arc of his character also makes a lot of sense from things we see him do early in the movie, and I won't even say that here because I think that may be a little bit of a spoiler. But I like the fact that this movie spotlights many different characters. That's maybe a response to a complaint about La La Land, which was a movie so saturated in jazz and LA-ness, and was ultimately like about two white people and their scope, right? Their scope of this universe.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we could have gone a little harder. I do appreciate like the wider perspective of this movie. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of wild. I feel like this is the only one of the few movies I've seen that follows up an elephant shitting directly on the camera from that perspective to golden showers. Like really, Damien Chazelle just like breaking
The
breaking
whole
boundaries all
yeah,
all
Yeah.
over the place.
the whole
I
range.
was shocked. I
Full
was
range.
shocked. The camera was not just like giving us a porn shot of that golden shower. Like it feels like from the beginning, Damien Chazelle saying "F you, audience." What do
Mhm.
you enjoy so much about movies? And some of it feels very angry. It feels like he's angry at Hollywood at times, or maybe angry at the audience. I don't know. But there is a genuine love for movies too. Like, and I think it's something we're all kind of thinking about, right? Like, I love movies. I love Tom Cruise movies, and every time I got to be like, except for that whole cult thing, like the whole human cost of
Mm.
movies and what it takes to make them is something that often gets just kind of forgotten as we're like there enjoying the spectacle of it. It's interesting that Brad Pitt is starring in this movie like after like he is currently embroiled in like a bitter thing with Angelina Jolie over potential like abuse. So again, we just watched Brad Pitt in a very fun crime movie. I was like, oh man, Brad Pitt's really fun. Not so fun off camera, it seems, at least according to his family. So that dichotomy, that thing we're always wrestling with, I think this
Mhm.
movie is just really interesting. It is way too long. It could be sharper, it could be shorter, but I loved it. I loved it from start to finish.
All right. I do just want to maybe correct one thing you said, which is,
Mhm.
I agree Margot Robbie is incredible in this movie. Like, I actually think she should get nominated for this movie
Mhm.
for an Academy Award. But the fact that this movie opened to, I think, like $3 million.
Are
So,
we bringing numbers into this?
well, people
Yeah.
argue, or $5 million.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, $5 million. But people would argue that part of being a movie star is being able to
Mhm.
open movies real big.
Maybe,
So you're
sure,
So
saying
like,
sure.
Brad Pitt isn't a movie star?
yeah,
Mm.
I am saying that. I'm like,
A
there's a lot of
anymore.
people that think there's
Ridiculous.
no, there's people, and I agree with them, that think there's no such thing as a movie star anymore. Like,
Oh,
and
well, okay. I'm not bringing in the economic argument here. I'm talking about
I
like what
think
a movie star kind of like represents to
sure,
us
yeah, yeah,
culturally.
I am the economic argument that like
Yeah,
there's
you're the boring
I
numbers
think
guy
that's a
right now.
yeah,
that's a postmodern view of what the movie star is
yes,
supposed to do, because
Mhm,
I think
mhm.
you could point out literally any movie star from any era and they've had flops.
Yep, absolutely.
sure,
Which this movie also kind of
And
like
you wouldn't
deals with, like
say,
being that guy. Yeah.
you know, Clark Gable isn't a movie star, Jimmy Stewart isn't a movie star,
okay.
or
I
countless of the
think I don't want to get sidetracked on this, but like
I mean,
I
you took us on this track, so
well,
yeah.
okay, yeah. I mean, I violently disagree with what you're saying. Like, I'm not saying like
You're
I'm not
saying
saying
if
it
you're
doesn't
on
matter.
wait, no,
I'm
to
saying these.
clarify your
I'm
argument,
saying
Dave.
no one in this movie has demonstrated that they can open a movie on their own.
Okay.
At least in the current
Okay.
environment,
Well,
no
okay.
one in this
So
movie can open
we're
a
just
movie
talking
to.
about the
Yeah, yeah. I'm saying in terms of like in terms of the present day box office. Like, you look at all the movies that Margot Robbie and Brad Pitt have made in the last 5 years. Like, they cannot open a movie on their own.
I think
So
that's a good
that's what
argument
I'm
to
saying.
make. It's not what I'm talking about
Yeah,
right
yeah, no, I
now.
get it,
It's also
but
like
I'm saying
it is a weird
I'm not saying they
literal
had one flop. Like, this is not one flop. This is
uh-huh.
we live in a world now where there's very few people, other than maybe Tom Cruise, maybe Will
Mhm.
Smith, that can open a movie on their own, and even that is like going away. So that's all I'm saying.
Yep. I'm talking about somebody who can
I think
just
that's a
hold a camera. Just like
Yeah, sure.
they're on the screen, you're like, "Oh, there could be madness happening around them, but they are always the focus of the action and
Yeah,
they
yeah, yeah.
hold the camera
I agree.
for their attention.
I
They
think that
like
is an
have the
extremely narrow definition of what a movie star
It
is,
is
and one that
unfortunately
almost
probably
no one else holds.
no, I wouldn't
Okay,
say no one
I
because
wouldn't
box
say
office
Almost.
stuff
this
is
is
a
all
thing.
like
Yeah.
this is all the there's massive like discourse about this online right
Yeah.
now, and I am certainly not alone in feeling this way. But also, that what I said is a necessary but not sufficient aspect of being a movie star. Like,
Sure. Sure.
I'm not saying you only can open a movie and nothing else. Like, yeah, it also is the stuff that Devindra says, the charisma, the intangible things like that. So it's
Mhm.
both things. That's what a movie star is for me, my definition. And I think we basically live in a society that doesn't have them anymore. But anyway, those are my feelings. I know yours differ. We can probably debate this in the After Dark. I want to know, Jeff Canada, what did you think of Babylon overall?
Well, Dave, I thought it was full of movie stars. I guess you could say.
My God, it's full of stars.
I guess you could say.
Oops,
My
all
thoughts.
stars.
It's all stars. Stars as far as the eye can see. I
Mhm.
guess you could say what my feelings are about Babylon are best summed up in the form of a limerick. I guess I must first off explain that I've never taken cocaine. And maybe it's not like this movie is shot, but both things seem hard to sustain.
Uh-huh.
I also loved this movie for like 85% of it. So much so
It's too much.
that I came out, I texted you guys when I walked out of this movie. I
Yeah.
said, holy shit, Babylon to both of you guys.
Which,
As
by the way, I just want to say that's a fairly rare occurrence. Like,
yes.
because I think my sense is that Jeff is in general wants to respect that, like, on this podcast is the first time we're hearing each other's opinions, right?
Yes.
In general, right?
But also, I felt like that was sufficiently ambiguous a text.
Yeah. That's pretty ambiguous.
No, I have no problem with it. Yeah.
I think, Dave, your letterbox reviews hitting my notifications. Those are the things that
Yeah,
are.
I have to actively avoid
I
them.
gotta
I'm
kill
sorry.
those.
Sorry
Yeah.
about that.
It's
Sorry
okay.
about that.
I don't care.
But-
Actually, I don't mind. No.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I have been texting many friends saying you have to go see Babylon because this is a big
Bring your family.
bring your family.
I feel really bad
Call
going
mom
into
and
this
dad.
screening. There was a grandma, several aunts, like a generation of women going to see this. We're going to go see the new Brad Pitt movie. I was way up front. They were in the back. I just felt really bad for them for
Yeah.
those opening 10 minutes. I don't
You
know.
know what you're going to get right away.
Mhm.
You know, the movie does not hide its excesses. Anyway, I've been texting several friends saying you got to go see this movie because I think there's nothing quite like it. This movie feels like being shot out of a cannon.
Mm.
And about an hour into this, I knew going in the movie was 3 hours and 10 minutes long. About an hour into this movie, I thought to myself, is this movie going to be able to keep this up? Is this what this movie is going to be for 3 friggin' hours? Am I going to, is it going to, because an hour of it had been at the most breakneck, insane pace I have ever seen in a movie.
This movie does all of Boogie Nights in the first 30 minutes, basically. So,
yes, it is. I'm telling you, it's like, what's that old stock footage of the guy, like his face being peeled back by the wind, you know? That's what it feels like inside this movie for the first hour, maybe even almost hour and a half, 2 hours. It is just pedal to the metal insanity. And I loved it. I've never seen anything like it. It was just so over the top, so insane, so the camera just doing these insane things with, you know, thousands of extras and kinetic madness all around you.
Also, debauchery, the likes of which we don't typically see in an R-rated movie. I feel like if this movie moved slower, right, you'd be like, oh, that is just penetrative sex happening right on the side of the street. But you're moving so fast, you're like, I can't keep going anything.
And the soundtrack's bum, da, da, ba, da, bum, bum, ba, da, da, and you're moving, and we're making a movie, and it's like thousands of people, and everybody's insane and high and crazy and shouting at each other. I mean, everybody's shouting at each other.
Everybody's shouting.
And it is
It's like a film cast argument about movie stars.
yes, but good. I mean, I was
Flea's
just
there, guys. Flea is there.
Flea.
He's always there.
Flea is shouting at people. I mean, there are so many scenes that I have thought about. It's just like high octane filmmaking on a level of craftsmanship and ambition that I just couldn't help but be in awe of. I was like, he is leveraging every aspect of the film process to just blow the doors off of your experience.
Feels like early Scorsese, you know, or even like I think of like maybe a movie like Raising Arizona or something. Like just the opening of that movie always blows me away. But a lot of those movies actually fueled by cocaine, you know, and the drugs that they took to make it. And I don't know if that was the case for this one, but it certainly feels like it.
I mean, I think the movie
that.
it feels like you are on something to witness it. It It is so fast, so kinetic, so crazed, taking you places, showing you things that are so wild and improbable and over the top, and everyone is just behaving as if it is normal everyday occurrence, that you just feel like you're transported into this, you're on the tumble cycle of the dryer. You know what I mean? It is bonkers.
Yeah. Also,
In
a
the
reminder: I
best-
didn't go to great parties. I guess
Yeah.
are parties like this typically?
It's the best possible, in the best possible way. It feels crazed and insane, and it's just like, man, I've just never seen a movie grab a hold of me like that and fling me around. And I was having so much fun with it. And then, just as I'm sort of going, how is it going to do this for 3 hours? It comes to a grinding halt. And then it's sort of,
maybe when a notable actor appears, but yeah.
it decides it needs to do this other thing that I'm like, what? We didn't really need to do that.
We really need to go full Dante's Inferno here, but
Yeah.
we're going there. Yeah.
And then we'll get to it in spoilers, but there's a few things that happen that just kind of come out of left field, where it feels like, a screenwriter who is saying to himself, "Wow, I really need to wrap this up somehow," and it's unfortunate. I honestly, the movie's, as Devindra said, too long. It doesn't really know where it wants to end up, and I don't think it lands successfully. And it doesn't. If it just like abruptly stopped after 2 hours, I think it probably would have been one of my favorite movies of the year. And it really is one of my favorite movie experiences of the year. This is truly an unparalleled experience. It's just like, wow, I witnessed something. I saw a director going for it. I just saw like the money is on the screen. Like, this is epic in a way that most times I use that word, I don't mean,
Wow. All right.
But I don't think it sticks the landing. I don't think it's perfect, but I still come away really thinking highly of this movie. It's probably my second. Not probably. Yes, it's definitely my second favorite Damien Chazelle movie after Whiplash.
Wow.
And I had a blast watching it, and I keep recommending it to people because I'm like, you know what? Yes, it's super adult.
Because
yes,
Jeff likes choosing violence with his recommendations.
Well,
tell your ma.
There's people. There's people in my life that I know will appreciate it, or I think will appreciate it, or even if they don't appreciate it, will be like, man, that was something. And I feel like it's undeniable that you're watching somebody just going for it. And I had so much fun with that. It just it can't possibly sustain its pace for 3 hours and 10 minutes. And I don't think it should have attempted to, but here we are.
Well, I really love the movie as well. I thought it was awesome and an incredible experience. This movie, Babylon, is like if the Fablemans and Hail Caesar had a baby, and that baby grew up and started doing massive quantities of cocaine and just started writing down like ideas for what scenes and plot lines would convey the magic of movies, and then just decided to blow $80 million on it.
It's a cocaine baby.
Totally. I really like
this cocaine bear, which is also happening. Yeah.
I like this movie a lot, and it has problems, and I'll just mention them briefly, what I think they are. I think that the movie follows multiple parallel stories, and not all of them get the same amount of attention. Apparently, like, the original script was, I saw a rumor that it was like around 4 hours long, and like, that's the movie I want to watch.
I would watch that. Yeah.
Is because like, I felt like several of these plot lines got pretty short shrift in the final movie. Like, not all of them land in a satisfying way. And some of them feel pretty thin.
Almost none of them land in a satisfying way.
Arguably,
yeah.
So that is a bit of a bummer. But what you have in exchange is a movie that just is like powered by sheer adrenaline, and there's always so much to look at. And really, it does manage to capture a lot of what makes movies magic. But at the heart of the movie is also a deep anxiety about society and technology changing, right? Babylon takes place during the transition between the silent film era and the talkies as they were called back then, I believe, where people started using sound in movies, and many people did not make that transition successfully.
Mhm.
And we are obviously seeing that today, where many people from the old order of movies and all the industry, not only just movies, but like the industries around movies, the media around movies, podcasts, news publications, and so on. Like, obviously, we're in the midst of an incredible, like a huge tumultuous transition right now in our society. And I think it's obviously a parallel for what's going on in Babylon. And I really appreciated that. Like, there's different ways you can approach it. There's people who like embrace the change. There's people who try but fail, and there's people who like just can't deal with it, can't deal with the change at all, right? And I like that these different characters allow us to see those different versions of what dealing with it is. So I liked it a lot. We have a lot more to discuss in spoilers though. So
Well, let me just,
yeah.
I want to comment too again about Margot Robbie, movie star, who
What a
is,
star. Yeah.
what a
Shine
year
brightly.
between this and Amsterdam. I mean, Amsterdam is a movie I liked a lot less than this movie,
Mhm.
but undeniable that like those two films to come out in the same year. What amazing performances. I mean, she is
Mhm.
incredible. And I'm so excited to see, the fact she's doing a Barbie movie and she's doing a superhero movie. I mean, she's just really
She's
throwing
amazing.
a lot at the wall.
I love the path she's on. Like, it's
yeah,
great. Yeah.
it's awesome.
She's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, while you're throwing a shout out for Margot Robbie, I got to say Diego Calva as well. Like, he has a really hard job in this movie. He's kind of like the anchor of the movie. Like, he's holding the whole movie together. He's like the straight man. He's like everything is like falling apart around him, and he's like
we're
trying
introduced to him covered in elephant shit.
Yeah.
His journey is so fantastic.
Yeah. So they without them, I think those pair of performances, I think the movie wouldn't work.
Mhm.
Because everything else around the movie is so wild and outrageous.
Yeah.
But
This movie is what Amsterdam wanted to be, right? Amsterdam wanted to be this like big energetic thing that's like covering all aspects of history and things going on, and it always felt flat. And this one is just like, from the moment that elephant shit on a camera, we were just going. Everybody, like, and the movie it didn't stop really until towards the end. Yeah.
All right, well, let's get to spoilers for Babylon starting right now. Well, we gotta talk about it because Jeff, you mentioned it during the main review, but when Tobey Maguire shows up, it sounds like that did not work for you, right, Jeff?
I mean, I think that sequence is bonkers.
I think
I thought it was incredible.
I
the
did
first
too.
scene with
it's the
him,
most tense. Like, that's not what I would say is signaling the.
Yeah.
The bad. I was like, that descent into madness.
Yes,
man. We didn't need that. I don't think we
I
didn't
thought
need
it was,
that at all.
I would agree that it's like a hat on a hat, right? It's
It is
like
a hat on a hat.
It doesn't illuminate
really.
any like it doesn't illuminate further the depravity of the scenario any more than like previous stuff had, really, right? But I still thought it was like, I can't believe he's doing, like, when I'm watching, I'm like, I can't believe he's going for
We're gonna call this place the asshole of LA. And we're gonna go down the asshole of LA.
I can't believe he's going for it. And that's amazing
like
that he
we are the enema in this movie. I will say the Tobey Maguire stuff, like when he appears, he looks freakish. Like, this movie does a great job of making him look like he's just like a vampire or something. So I would have preferred if that scene was just like them talking to Tobey Maguire rather than the whole Dante's Inferno thing. But do want to shout out, like, man, was he creepy? And
he's one of the producers on the movie, I believe. And so I just love that he would, like, not only was he okay with it, he probably like encouraged looking that terrifying. Terrifying, but Jeff, okay, so if that wasn't where it didn't stick the landing, then what is your issue with the movie?
Well, I mean, I think that it forces a sentimentality that the rest of the movie didn't really get to. The suicide by Brad Pitt's character comes out of nowhere. For me, it didn't seem honest to the stuff that we'd seen up to that point with that character.
I feel like the great conversation he had with Jean Smart, where she just like lays it out.
Oh, it was awesome.
Like, oh, buddy, like, you're a star for a while and you fade, but you will live on in your imagery. And I feel like his takeaway from that was just like, he says thanks for that.
Right.
And at that moment, I was like, oh, he's gonna kill himself because like he cannot bear to be in this universe now. But okay,
I thought it worked just because it was clear that like he had lost, like, his personal life was a disaster, and he had lost like the one thing that was holding him together, which is like his fame and popularity in the movies, like he didn't make that transition successfully.
He also had this great moment of peace in that final scene we see him doing. Like he's on the beach, and he does this thing, and the director's like more interested in the young star who's like clearly going to be going places, and he looks around and he looks at everybody involved and is like is taking it in, like
Yeah.
one final time. Like that felt like a goodbye moment to me as well. And also I feel like the movie should have probably leaned a little more on the sentimentality and the idea of like what movies actually mean to us, because it does feel like it forces it at the end with Diego Calva like in the theater. Put a character in the theater and have him react to movies. Like, yeah, I will be fully on board with them. But the movie doesn't fully like set that up amidst all the other debauchery stuff.
Well,
Yeah.
so Jeff, I want to make sure you have time to finish the point you're making. So like,
No, I don't.
Yeah.
For me, there isn't a demarcation line of this is the point at which the movie. I just feel like all of that momentum comes to a grinding halt in that area of of the movie, in that last, I don't know, 20% of the movie, not even that much, 15% of the movie. Everything slows way down, and we get that sequence where Margot Robbie goes and has the outburst at the party, where she's throwing things and rubbing food on herself and all that stuff. And it just feels like, okay, I don't. The movie just feels like it's grinding its wheels at a certain point toward the end for me, and I wanted
spinning its wheels.
Yeah, excuse me. Yes, it just didn't. It lost that incredible momentum that it had, and that sense of inevitability, and it just felt like, okay, what are we doing? What are we doing? What are you really trying to say, movie? And I, like I said, the Brad Pitt suicide didn't work for me. The Margot Robbie running. There's some beautiful things. Like, this is an extremely talented filmmaker. So even the stuff that doesn't work, still there's like incredibly memorable imagery and beautiful. See, like them running off and just dancing in that party they find, and then being recognized. Like, all of that stuff is beautiful in its own way. But I just kind of felt like, all right, what are we doing? I've been here for so long. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Where are we ending up here? Make up your mind.
And it ends with Vin Diesel saying the movies. Basically,
well, that's what it is. We go and we just see a montage of
all the most culturally relevant movies.
First of all, I think here's the thing: this movie definitively proves that Avatar is culturally relevant.
Yeah, baby. I believe me.
I think it's more like
I saw this before I saw The Way of Water.
I'm pretty sure, like, my brain started leaking out of my head when I saw Avatar appear.
I think it was more like, "Hey, Jimmy C, can we get some Terminator 2 footage in our movie?" Yeah. You know what's going to take to get some Terminator in your movie?
If you want to have clips of the most important movies in the history of films, there's a certain movie that needs to be in there for it to even make sense. An audience would walk away going, "Wait a minute, there's a conspicuous absence.
Where's Jake Sully? Where's Jake Sully?
Yeah.
Where's Colonel Miles Quaritch?
Here's the World Tree."
All right. A few other things we have to, like, in my opinion, we have to mention about what's awesome about this movie. One of them is like, showing how silent films were made was amazing. Like, all the sets are next to
that I didn't realize. Yeah.
All the sets are next to each other because they don't need to care about sound. And then like to go from that to then that whole sequence with the sound, it was very like Hail Caesar. I brought up Hail Caesar, but like, the Hail Caesar with like, would that it were so simple. Like, that whole thing is like very reminiscent of that and other things of that nature. But I thought, like, individual sequences, the opening scene, the scene where Margot Robbie is filming the silent film, the scene where Margot Robbie is filming the scene with the sound for the first time, like, each one of those is like a masterpiece, like, in and of itself, like,
truly
just on their own.
That sequence
where they're a little unwieldy, but yeah, go ahead.
So when they're trying to get the sound and that dude is in the box, like, overheating, it's just incredible. It's incredible.
Just amazing cinema, like the way they repeat the shots over and over again, like the rhythm, the editing. It's just it's so good. And yeah, there are these sort of side plots with Lee Jin Lee playing Lady Fei Zhu and the Sydney character, and basically like being forced to sacrifice, like already being marginalized because of their race, and then being forced to sacrifice their ethnicity, their sort of personhood
Yeah.
in service of Hollywood. I don't think those were like the best like fleshed out storylines. Could have used a lot more character development in my opinion, but I like that it
Mhm.
was like nodding at like, hey, these are people who have been marginalized for like pretty shitty reasons in
Yeah.
the past.
And
And I appreciate that.
important that it's actually Manny who's basically acting as the hand of the studio to like
Mhm.
Yeah.
force them to do that. They're like his character gets really interesting and complex later on, but early on we're like deal with those union people who are complaining. It's like, all right, sure, I'll figure it out. I'm gonna get on a horse and like shoot into the air and like rally people who are probably just demanding a fair day's wage or something. He's a really interesting fixer type as a character, but also somebody who's like, yeah, I'm gonna get my hands dirty because this is what I want, no matter what it like costs other people at times. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the notion that back
Mhm.
then, like that whole sequence with Spike Jonze as the director, and that this idea of like all we're shooting is a kiss at sunset, but
Uh-huh.
we need 400,000 people down doing stuff like murdering each other.
Well,
to-
that was awesome, but also like the idea that if you've been to a movie set, like this is very on brand of like
Mhm.
everything grinds to a halt because one person, like something goes wrong
yes,
with like one person's piece
yes,
of equipment, basically.
100%.
And so he had to like go and run, and like everyone's just sitting there waiting. Like that's a lot
Yep,
of movie sets is just sitting there, people waiting around
so
for
good.
something to happen, right?
There's so
Um,
much. There's so many sequences in this movie that are just
Him renting
top
the
tier.
camera. Him renting the
yeah,
camera.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
can you believe this guy's asking? There's a difference between this number and this number.
I'm
It's like, oh
surprised that
man,
Devindra wasn't playing that person that was at
yeah,
the
yeah.
camera desk because that's a very Devindra-esque series
Oh
of
man,
lines.
but
Yeah.
stuff like that, like it makes room for things like that, which I feel like it's great. It's fantastic. Adds to the texture of this overall movie.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I did just want to say yes, Avatar is at the end of the movie, but also just like this is a movie that spends 3 hours being like, hey, look at how wild and debauched Hollywood used to be, and like how much of that DNA is still in the movies today, and trace, I'm giving you these 5 characters whose storylines we're going to follow, so you can trace this line over time. And then at the end of the movie, still has the gall to do a montage providing the entire history of movies.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I,
In
love, I
case
love
you didn't get the point.
Yeah, in case you didn't get the point, here it is again in montage form for all you TikTokers out there. In case you're still watching this,
I like that. I like the gall. I like that.
oh
He's
yeah,
just
me
like,
too,
hey, you
me
did
too.
not expect to see this, but here you go. Here's everything, and also like very experimental towards the end too, which I kind of appreciated.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah,
very. Yeah.
we
Go ahead.
seem to be, now correct me if I'm wrong because I may be getting my film history incorrect, but we seem to be like outside of traditional timelines, right? Because Singing in the Rain happens in this movie,
Yeah.
in this movie's timeline, way before Singing in the Rain actually happened in the world, right?
Mm,
Well, Singing in the Rain was released in 1952.
Right. And this is, there's like that Singing in the Rain number that
Yeah.
Brad Pitt is in
yeah.
that is clearly referencing the film, unless that song pre-existed. I
And
don't
at
know.
times, that Brad Pitt's character is basically talking about movie plots of like modern movies.
Yes, exactly.
So, like,
Of
so like
movies
it's a
that,
little anachronistic in that. Yeah.
yeah, and I think, but so it's kind of living in this weird dreamlike
Mhm.
place. I don't know.
Well,
It was
so
I
he
loved it, though. I
sees
loved
the
that.
movie Singing in the Rain at the end. That's the movie he's seeing at the end.
No,
of the
no, no.
movie.
But
Singing-
Brad
yeah.
Pitt is
Yeah.
in a
that
Singing
whole
in the Rain
scene
Right.
sequence, yeah.
film sequence way before Singing in the Rain ever existed.
Yeah,
in the timeline of this movie.
Is
They're all singing in the rain in that big choir piece.
Yeah. I'm just trying to figure out, like, was there a precursor to Singing in the Rain that, like,
I don't think so, but I could be completely wrong. But Devindra is also right that there are other like movie plots referenced that are come way later.
Just kind of throwing it out there. I
Yeah.
mean, Singing in the Rain was also about the idea of the rise of talkies too. So I think like thematically,
Totally.
like they're just putting that in there. I do like that. This movie is kind of jogging a lot of things or putting them all together. But the idea of like major technological advances and the way it kind of reshapes Hollywood, we're in the midst of that too. And of course, I'm talking about high frame rate, movies, guys. Like that's going to change everything, and not
Yeah,
everybody
baby.
can keep up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and many people might outright reject it. You know?
Indeed,
Who
indeed.
knows?
People would rather stab their eyes out than watch a high frame rate movie, but it's all in the name of progress, folks.
All right, folks. Well, it sounds like we all loved it, which
I'm shocked. I thought
I'm surprised. I am surprised because
I
this
thought
movie
both of you
goes
were not
places.
going to like it. Honestly,
it's an extreme. Here's the thing: it's an extremely polarizing film online
Yeah.
as well. I do think, you know, like, does it work as a movie? You know,
Mhm.
kind of. Like, I love the movie, but I love it more for the audacity than like,
Yeah.
oh, this is like
For
a
sure.
perfectly constructed movie.
Totally.
It feels very rough. It feels like whole plot lines or subplots were like cut out of the movie. Like, it does feel that way.
It's more like
But
a
it's still-
thrill ride. It's
Yeah,
like
exactly,
It's like
exactly.
like I said, it's like being shot out of a cannon. It feels like you're
Yeah.
riding a runaway train. You know.
It's a singular work. I feel like that's the thing. So I definitely respect it more than like I enjoyed all my time with it. But I definitely enjoyed being at the front row of that theater as like an entire family was just watching like the insanity of the first 30 minutes. Like I was pretty close to inviting my mom to this because like my parents were over and like, oh, good thing that didn't happen. That would have been a little rough. But yeah.
I also, the way sound is used in this movie is
Mhm.
exceptional, and music and the percussive, like, driving rhythm of
Justin Hurwitz, baby. Like
It's
whenever
incredible.
he's working
Yeah.
with Damien Chazelle, I love
He's
it.
awesome.
Yeah.
it's incredible.
Okay. Jeff, I have a solution to the mystery, right? So, Singing in the Rain, the movie did come out in 1952. So that's like when you see. I love that Diego. Like, this is back in the time where it's like, oh, things aren't working out for me here. I guess I'm just gonna start another life somewhere. Like, that's what it was
Yeah.
was back then, right? Can't do that today with all the internets and stuff. But Damien Chazelle spoke about this on an interview at Variety. The question was asked, the impact of Singing in the Rain has on your life is no secret. What was it like getting to feature it here in the way that you did? And he says, it is a very important movie to me. Given the subject matter in this movie, I couldn't not acknowledge Singing in the Rain. But there's a whole side of how it came to be that's something a lot of people aren't aware of. The song was put on film, most notably in 1929 in the Hollywood Review, with that weird ensemble number with people in rain slickers in front of a Noah's Ark backdrop. And that performance had been forgotten and replaced by Gene Kelly.
Huh.
End quote.
So that's
So
historically
interesting.
accurate. Wow.
Yeah, so it's historically. So yeah, it did appear. Yeah, so it was a precursor to the movie, and that's what that was referenced to. But yeah, good.
Mhm.
Locate.
I saw a lot of people complaining about that, and they were just schooled by Damien Chazelle. Wow, amazing.
It's shocking to me that Damien Chazelle, a best director, Academy Award winning director,
Yeah.
might know more about
Somebody
film
who has dedicated his life to movies
than
perhaps
some
at the cost of
rando
his
behind a
insanity,
keyboard on the
yeah.
internet. That's
Yeah,
shocking to me.
yeah.
That's shocking. To
Well,
me.
no, I was saying a reviewer. Like I was seeing like people in the industry. Like
Yeah.
okay, that's
Same.
interesting.
I don't. My case stands. What I said stands.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
at the end of the day, it's really impressive that Damien Chazelle made a movie.
He may not get to make another one after this.
I hope he does. He may not want to. This may be
It's,
everything.
yeah. This thing
I
is
mean-
55% on Rotten Tomatoes right now.
That's
and
such a shame,
going
man.
around.
There
It's
is
incredible.
this sense to me that this might be him leaving it all in the field. Like
Mhm,
this.
mhm.
I think he's gonna make more movies, right? He has
Yeah.
more scripts probably. Like, but it does feel to me he's like, if I'm gonna go out,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
this is how I'm going out. You know,
Making
like,
a movie
it's
with both middle fingers up, basically.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's how it
Yeah.
feels. That's how it feels. Anyway, that's going to bring us to the end of our review of Babylon. Thank you so much for watching this video of the Filmcast. Check out these other videos that we have available, and be sure to hit like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to get other videos from us in the future.
You can also go to thefilmcast.com to catch all of our audio podcast versions of all of our episodes.
And support this podcast at patreon.com/filmpodcast, where you can sign up for ad-free episodes and exclusive After Darks.
Thanks so much to everyone who makes the Filmcast possible.